Hey yo, welcome to the QB School Live. A little draft week live here, a little matinee. What day is it? Do me a favor, hit me with your favorite emoji. Check in, let me know where you're watching from, and we're gonna do this thing. I'm fired up, ready to get this draft thing going. Make sure I mention it a few times in this live. Plan on going live post draft, so hopefully there's some late round one Thursday night quarterback movement. Give us all sorts of stuff to dive into. Fired up. I mean, Capea, good to see you, buddy. Checking in. Love it. Now's the time, though. You got questions? Lock in here. I got kind of mixed emotions. Obviously, this draft class, maybe I'm a little bit tired of them just because I've seen maybe a lot of them recently, but excited to potentially move past the draft as well. Don't want to necessarily jump the shark or for this week, but excited to kind of see guys coming in to potentially draft eligible years next year. We'll dive into here May, June, and then we're right back in it. It's officially football season. I feel like once you get to summer and the real conditioning begins, but everybody else has been grinding on that off season for a long time, so it can kind of go all over the place here as far as topics. If you have questions, now is the time. I'll probably also get to some concept videos, so if there are specific concepts for X's and O's videos that I haven't touched on, do me a favor and let me know. I'll do my absolute best to lock those things in. Those are fun for me, especially with a bunch of the old school channel OGs seem to really appreciate those types of videos, so I try to create them as much as I possibly can, and now is really the season for those things. So, oh, my man Jake, hey, checking in from Germany. Love it. There you go. Just want the draft to already happen. I'm tired of the pre-draft tearing down these young men. There's a lot of truth to that, Capea. I mean, I try to keep it from a positive, somewhat objective point of view. Is at least this channel tries to focus on the film and the production from the All-22, but even that is tough when you're projecting into places that, I certainly don't have anything to do with where these guys end up. And so it's a little bit easier for the teams, I feel like, nowadays to be able to project how they fit into their system. But even their system might not be their system in 2-3 years. And so, at this point, for me, I almost flip it on its head in that regard. And these last couple days, really the week of, everything is done. Maybe there's a meeting or two, but for the vast, vast majority of the experience for everybody who's being drafted, everything except the draft is done. And so you've put in all the work, you've done your pro day, you've done the combine, you've done the bowl games, whatever. And now you just need to, it's kind of a two-part thing, I think. The first part is to just acknowledge, the experience that you're about to have and this kind of culmination for all this hard work and everything that's gone into that experience, everybody who's helped you along the way, and to celebrate it and enjoy it. And I think that that's important to acknowledge and spend more than, maybe just the draft day or draft experience with that. And I think the guys who kind of succeed the quickest or maybe trampoline that, accelerate their ability to then take that draft experience into the league and be successful for some time, realize that this is just the start. And it's a lot. And it's a long-ass year in reality, because you play that college football season, you go right into the draft prep, you do the draft, you're right into mini camp, you're right into the off season, then you're into the longest season of your life. And so it's a really long kind of, it's probably more than 18, 20 months as far as that process of that last college football season, draft cycle, pro football season, and to just acknowledge where you're at in it, and you're really barely at the halfway mark. And so to kind of be able to hold both those things, awesome accomplishment, congratulations, celebrate it, own it, all those types of things. And, this is just the start. So it's a lot. All right, let's see what we got here. My man Rob checking in from the UK. Love it. Got some Michigan in the house. Curtis Wood, the Lions, drafting at the number 2. I don't know anything about what the Lions are doing. I honestly don't really pay attention to it. I would be shocked if Malik Willis isn't the first guy taken off the board. That's just me. Been shocked before. Seems like I would say a little bit of a reach for that early, as far as a guy, hopefully that early, that you think can, the reason I say a reach is because can walk in and play immediately. I don't think anybody looks at that film and thinks that that's the case. Doesn't mean that he can't or won't be successful or won't be a superstar in the league. It just means that the film so far doesn't indicate that. But if they fell in love with him, go get him. Zachary Davis. Why is having a quarterback who can throw from different arm slots, excuse me, such a big deal? Zachary Davis, that is an excellent question. It's a big deal for a few different reasons. One, I think it's just a fantasy to think that you're going to have these 7-on-7 pockets and be able to throw a perfect ball with no one around you all the time. I think throwing from different arm slots allows you to be a little bit more creative in how you can deliver the ball. So if there's someone in your way, you can drop it down. You can be a little bit more creative off platform. If you got to move outside the pocket, if you got to make a 3/4 throw, if you got to make a throw on the run, if you got to make a throw going to your left, moving up in the pocket, those types of things with your base maybe not perfectly in rhythm. I think it's just a way to kind of shortcut and kind of contextualize all sorts of playmaking ability kind of wrapped up into, hey, he's got a bunch of different arm angles. The other thing about it, and I'll just be honest with you anecdotally, I think it's fun if you're a quarterback to play with those types of things. Whether you come from the baseball world or you've always had someone in your ear telling you to have a high release point. I think it's fun to be able to mess around with those things because they do come up probably less than coaches would want, and less than quarterbacks would want, and more than coaches are probably comfortable admitting. But I can tell you definitely don't want to be in the habit of randomly changing your arm slot for whatever reason. I think it's something that you want it to be as consistent of a stroke as possible. I kind of allude or give the analogy of like just shooting a free throw. You want it to be as smooth as possible, but you can also do it from a bunch of different ways. And the idea being that, I just want to be able to repeat it as much as possible. So if I've got the capacity to get low and like flick a little flat out if I need to for a check down, that's a little different than, trying to like wait and throw like a shallow route through a hole while I'm running up through the pocket off a kind of a weird 3/4. The other thing that I'll add to that, and this isn't necessarily down the same lane as having multiple arm angles, I will say that I think most rotational athletes and coaches, and that's anybody, whether it's golf, tennis, pitching, quarterbacking, I think people have started to realize that the natural arm slot is the best arm slot. So maybe what some people might have heard as far as, high over the top growing up might not necessarily be the best case anymore. And, I certainly don't coach a high arm slot. I prefer just the natural arm slot. So if you're a 3/4 guy, you don't see a whole lot of like youth sidearm kids, but I coach some youth sports, and there are some kids that probably throw it lower than maybe some dads are comfortable with. But I think it's just a more natural way to be consistent in your delivery and ball control, whatever the rotational athlete. So there you go. Appreciate everybody who's checking in here, smashing that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Please check out the courses, get over to the Quarterback School Patreon community. All those good things certainly help support the channel and go a long way with making sure that you get the best content that you possibly can and want, and good fun ways for me to interact as well. So I appreciate the support there. See what other ones we got here. Tyler Verbal. Why are elite college tight ends drafted late? Bro, I have no idea. You might be at the wrong channel. Dane, which QB will be overdrafted and which will be underdrafted? I mean, I would just be speculating, bro. I'm sorry. I mean, at this point, I think it's hard to answer that question because you don't know where people are drafted. I'm just guessing. I think you could make the argument for everyone depending on where they go and what that looks like. Again, this is one of those things, and it's I find myself even, when you're watching the videos or when I'm making the videos, when I'm talking about the experience of the draft, so much of it is luck. And I know it's not the greatest thing in the world to say, but it's not necessarily luck like, oh, you go in the first round, you go in the second round. It's what organization do you go to? What kind of talent are you surrounded by? What is the expectation for your development? Are you playing year one? Are you competing for a spot year two? Are you, do you have to compete to stay on the roster? Who believes in you? Is it the GM? Is it the head coach? Is there some alignment there as far as the offense coordinator, the head coach, who's calling the plays? What's the quarterback situation, the room look like? All those types of things go into the experience specifically for a guy who gets drafted and doesn't get drafted, a guaranteed round one you're playing type of guy, which is probably everyone this year. I mean, even the guys who maybe you go to Seattle, Pittsburgh, I'm trying to think, Carolina, I don't think anybody is the day one walk-in starter. There is not that type of, Trevor Lawrence situation, Zach Wilson, where you are the dude, you get the 1 reps right out the gate. At least I don't think so on the outside looking in. Maybe I'm wrong. But all right, what else we got? The NLP podcast. Love the podcast. Ooh, I forgot to do it last week. I will do it probably this week. That's true. I probably will. I like the podcast too. I need to get the questions banged out. Just need to get it baked into the rhythm and kind of process that I try to crank out these videos with. What was the question? Is there any podcast that covers defense like you cover quarterbacks? Sure. I think the easiest one is Coach Vass. He's got a few different podcasts. I don't know what it's called. No, I do. The pun one. Make America Great. No, Make Defense Great Again. Something like that. It's a good one. It's long. I probably don't have the attention span to necessarily get through a lot of it, but it's a great resource. It doesn't necessarily cover position specific, but he does a really good job. I feel like defense, no offense, defensive guys, but you can get away with being a little bit more, touch a lot of the positions because so much of the technique is carryover, whether it's defensive line. Yeah, you can have interior, exterior, linebacker types, inside, outside, DB types, nickel, safety, corner. There's certainly some technique variations, but it's a lot easier to have 4 or 5 versus maybe some different things that, like, there's not one position like quarterback that needs a significant amount of detail that's unique to other positions on the defensive side. I'm sure that there are others. I just don't know about them. What else we got here? Colonel Roberts Jr., quick question. How much of a difference is there between the curl flat and the spacing concept you covered in an earlier video? I would say that there are a few different variations, most notably being that the spacing doesn't usually involve a curl per se. Curl to me is deeper, I think 10 to 12-ish, can certainly be even deeper beyond that. Doesn't necessarily have... So to me, a curl flat is just a curl and a flat, like a 2 to 3 yard flat with a 10 to 12 yard curl. And again, depending on how you teach the curl at the top, whether it's a fish hook, whether it's right back to the quarterback, those types of things change. Spacing to me is more of a 3-person concept where someone's over the ball in like a 5-yard sit, someone's running like a 5-yard hitch, and then someone's in the flat or checking a wide, like some sort of flat pull. And the thing about spacing is it's most often a backside concept. So very rarely, if ever, I've never experienced it in my life where you would take a drop, if you're playing spacing, where you would look to the spacing first. Curl flat, you certainly would look to it first. I personally wouldn't, but that doesn't mean that it's terrible ball. I think that there's time and place for it. If you play a team that plays like country cover 3, and you can run variations of other curl flat that maybe have like a clear out or something else that you can run versus quarters or things like that. But to me, curl flat is usually associated with a front side or primary read early, and then spacing is a backside concept that's more country zone coverage, meaning not man match, not zone match, no matching concepts where you're going to have someone right tight coverage versus that. Because with that zone coverage with spacing, you're thinking, hey, whatever I have on this side, if I'm going to look here and work whatever this is, say it's curl flat, it's not there. Now, it wouldn't be curl flat normally because you'd want like a quick game passing concept because spacing happens quickly. So let's just say slant or hitch. Ooh, almost lost the water. That would have been bad, but good streaming. So no to this. You flip back around. Now I got the spacing. And because your eyes were working whatever the primary was, you're hoping that because it's zone coverage, all those underneath defenders have manipulated underneath and are at a position to come back and work the spacing. I think. Let me know if you disagree. Did I do a spacing concept video? That would be, I forget which ones I did. All right, what else we got here? Alston. It's from a lot of places, bro. Appreciate it. My man Nick, thanks for checking in. I've seen the name D Butler. I haven't listened for a while either. So if there are other people or other podcasts that, there's a number of podcasts that I was really into when I was coaching high school football, just because I don't pretend to be an expert on every single element of what teams are doing. And so I spent probably a little bit more time with it at that point. I don't have like necessarily evaluation or analysis podcasts. Probably not the best medium for it either. My man Michael, good to see you, man. Appreciate the support as always with the membership and all the different ways you support the channel. Why even bother playing spot zone coverages anymore when there are superior matching concepts available? Michael, excellent question. I would probably tend to agree with you. I would say that there are some benefits of playing just true spot zone coverages. One, as far as just a changeup, I think is an easy answer. I also think it's much less expensive. And so what I mean by that is it's just much easier to say, hey, you go drop to the numbers and you've got, run through this alley as you get there. This is your depth and hit anything that moves, versus saying, hey, we're going to play, whatever this iteration of match coverage is. And now we've got to work through every type of release, every type of motion, every type of shift adjustment, every type of formation adjustment, versus saying, hey, you've got the curl, or you've got the middle square, or you got the deep third. That's just easier. The other thing about it, I think it's a little bit easier, and this is just my opinion, it's a little bit easier to have some bones of spot drop coverage in the league versus college football because of the hashes, and because the hashes are tighter. It just, everything is a little bit more equal as opposed to lower levels of football. If you play country cover 3 in high school football with wide hashes, depending on where your guys align pre-snap, there's going to be some massive oceans out there. And, you're going to get 4 verticals really quickly versus a bunch of different ways to do it. It's a little bit harder, a little bit easier to do it with tight hashes, I think. My man Dane coming in hot. Everybody wants to know about the college 22 footage. And I've said this, and I know I probably should just do a video on it, but just to answer the question, I'll continue to answer it. There is not one spot. So it comes from a multiple of different areas, people, resources, however you want to say it. There's no easy answer for me to say, hey, go here to get all 22. I don't get all the all 22 that I want. And so it's a continuous process. So sorry, there's no good answer for that. Dane coming in hot with the questions. Is Malik Willis the only guy with QB1 traits in this draft? No. Who else has starter potential? I think there are a bunch of guys. I'm not going to put a cap on guys being potential starters. I make no bones about it. I like Sam Howell a lot. Got another Sam Howell video coming out tomorrow. I just, I think that there are concerns. And, if I was drafting Sam Howell, I'd want to know and go through conversations with coaches, with teammates, what the hell happened this last year. But I think that he's shown over the course of his career that he's got some the potential for that type of ability to spin it and what he's able to do creative-wise. Desmond Ridder, people love to talk about the accuracy thing. I also feel the same way about some of the accuracy concerns. Doesn't mean he can't get better. It just means that, in my opinion, it doesn't happen all the time. It's not that it never happens. It just doesn't happen all the time. Those 3 guys, Carson Strong, if he's healthy, I don't know. I'm not that kind of doctor. Matt Corral, if he can do things besides RPO and throw double moves, maybe Lane just didn't ask him to do other things. I don't know. But I think that there are a number of guys. These are all they're going to get drafted NFL quarterbacks. They all could potentially be, starters. I'm not going to put an artificial cap on them now. Some of them, the percentage is probably higher than others, but Alston, have you ever done a breakdown of your own college tape and scouted yourself? Seems like it would be a fun video. I would need to get a VHS player, which I do not have. Uh, that would be an interesting video. It would be some pretty shitty quality, grainy video, and it would be some bad footwork. But there'd probably be some big plays out there. Not gonna lie, it's a good idea. Maybe I might do that something for the Patreon community. That'd be a good idea. I don't even know. Do they even make VHS? I'd have to like get on eBay or something to see if I can get a VHS. Make sure they still work. Yeah, see, Michael, I did do a spacing video. Nice. Appreciate the heads up. Coach Gray's going 4 verts versus anything. I don't know about that. Quarters, you might as well throw a screen. But I like it. I'm going to stay away from the Deshaun Watson stuff for a while. I need a break. JK1904. In general, would you say the wider hash marks and lower levels benefit the offense or defense? I'm almost always going to take an offensive perspective of this. I think it's much easier. I'm trying to think, when would it help a defense to have a wider side? I don't know. Maybe I talked to like some defensive guru who would tell me when they love a wide hash. I think the only thing it would help a defense potentially is if you just have such a tendency to go to the field. But I think a lot of teams, especially at like decent levels of football now, are so locked in with FIB or formation into the boundary stuff that almost everybody has some iteration of it. Now, some teams are probably better than others at it, but I think it's much easier to play football offensively when you have wide hashes. When you've got that whole field to cover, it can feel like a parking lot out there to be able to push that thing out there. Now, maybe if you don't have a quarterback who can throw to the field all the way and push that vertical ball down the field, it's not that much of a benefit, and you can kind of manipulate maybe some defensive coverage in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's so much easier because if you overcommit to the field in any type of coverage, you're going to have that boundary short one-on-one, and if you've got a dude over there, it's like stealing. I think it makes the game much easier to have wide hashes. Now, you have to be able to have a system that isn't, right-hand dominant. I've been on a lot of teams in the NFL that were right-hand dominant. I mean, we would only, if you looked at our kind of eye right versus eye left, just as like a random formation. I know teams don't do that anymore, but let's just say 2x2 with 11 personnel and the tight end into the boundary. I'm going to guess you're going to get that a lot more to the right than to the left in the league. And that's so I've been on teams that didn't matter if you're on the left hash or the right hash. Hey, we dialed this play up out of this formation this week. And so I think it makes it easier in that regard offensively, but it's certainly tougher on the defense. Boom. Trap line, W2EF. Are we going to do post-draft quarterback plus team fit videos? That could be a fun adventure. Probably not. I'm going to need a break from these guys, most likely. Maybe, depending on if there's like some ridiculous splash move. But even then, I don't necessarily love that type of projection where I'm just kind of guessing what they're going to run with what, he potentially did in college. I think it might as well just wait and see exactly what they do and how it fits into what the quarterback's game is at the NFL level. I'll be here soon enough. I certainly appreciate y'all hanging out here. See how much longer we got. A little midday draft week quarterback school live. It's been a hot minute since I've done a live. Again, just mentioned that plan on doing a live after the draft, so make sure you lock in with that. Those are always fun. My favorite kind of lives of the year are the post Super Bowl, post draft live, and then we're just into kind of that. I don't know. It's not necessarily a lull. I think of the lull for the NFL as like July. It's more of just like, who do we want to see next year? What college guys that I still have that are going back to school do we want to see that I can get some film for and do some initial breakdowns, get kind of a soft pencil list for what we think for the next draft cycle. I think everybody thinks that the next draft cycle has the potential to be a pretty good one, certainly compared to this year. And so excited to get ahead a little bit with that, and then it's on to the next. So pretty excited about it. There you go. See, we got some people in the chat talking boundary passing game. It's super easy. I mean, yes, I agree. Especially if you've got a quarterback who maybe struggles with some arm strength issues. Griffin, I'm in college right now and having trouble with my footwork and timing up my feet with my eyes. Do you have any tips? Well, tough for me to give you any sort of like specific tips without knowing the specific details of it. But I would really work on the way that I like to think about this and help kind of teach rhythm to quarterbacks is when you're watching your practice film, if you're in college practicing spring ball, whatever, or you have your reps of your film, go watch where you're at with your drops. So say you're doing a shotgun 3-step drop. When you hit that back foot, where are your wide receivers? Where are you supposed to have your eyes? Are there your eyes in the right spot? Are you aligned to make the throw to the first read? And then from there, you just do that for every progression. So if it's we'll just say a 1-2-3 read and left to right, are you lined up to throw to the left at the top of your drop? And is the wide receiver at the correct depth ready to throw at his drop? Okay, no, you don't throw it. Hitch reset, get to number 2. Is that route breaking open? Are your eyes aligned with where you need to go? And you just pause it as you go through the film, and that will give you a good indication that either, hey, I'm out of whack, I'm going too fast, I'm going too slow with my footwork, my eyes aren't in the right spot, or, and this is a big or, I'm not going to pretend that every offense is locked in with this type of precision and detail. Maybe some of the schemes aren't necessarily timing up correctly either. Maybe the guys on the perimeter aren't the fastest guys in the world. Maybe they are really fast. Maybe I need to go quicker. Maybe I'm not taking the right drop. Maybe I need my 3-step no hitch needs to be a slide or a shuffle. And so there can be some flexibility. Now, if you're in an old school offense with an old school dinosaur coach and he's not going to be changed, he's going to be super rigid about everything, you're going to butt your head up against the wall a number of times. But I think you can at least see where you're at. And that's the same thing I say to wide receivers. Like, hey, the wide receivers complaining, why am I not getting the ball more? I thought I was a primary read on this concept. Well, let's pause the tape at the quarterback's drop. Where are you supposed to be when you're supposed to be there? You're not there. You're getting jammed at the line of scrimmage. Yeah, you get open, but it's at 5 seconds. Well, we're already scrambling after that. And so understanding kind of what that looks like as far as the concept, being able to get you a visual indication of, hey, this is the timing that it's supposed to be. Here's the video evidence. Where are my feet? Where are my eyes? Where is the eligible receiver I'm trying to work through? What does the read look like? Is it timing out correctly? And then that will give you kind of a nice scaffolding to be able to say, hey, I'm pretty good on most of these things, or I'm way off, or something's not screwed up. And if it doesn't make sense, go sit down with your position coach, your coordinator, and say, hey, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? Do I need to extend this drop? Do I need to do a different drop? Do we have some flexibility to kind of fill in the gaps here? Hope that helps. Izzy Wealthy, what do I think about Chandler Morris from TCU? I think nothing. I have no idea who that is, or I've never watched him play. I appreciate you checking in, though. You have given me a lot of credit for thinking that I know exactly who we're talking about. If you have questions, now is the time. We're going to go here for how long we've been going? Half hour-ish? See if we got a few more questions here, and then just continue to lock in. I probably got one more draft video. If there's one specific prospect that you're interested in seeing again, I probably am leaning towards Malik Willis, just because Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, the other guys, I don't know. I feel like I've sorted out. I fought myself the entire time, not putting Sam Howell higher than I ended up putting him, but I feel like the more I watched this past year, it was going in the wrong direction for me to make the jump over some guys who maybe played a little bit, have a little bit more projected ceiling, and probably maybe in Desmond Ridder played the quarterback position at maybe a little bit higher level this past year. And so trying to stay on that kind of upward trajectory of improvement, I think is something that I forever have been about, but also realizing that, hey, it's a team game and there might be some regressions, but there are still some things to be about being able to elevate your teammates, elevate the performance of an offense that I think are special with what Sam Howell did at college. The Bears never had a 4,000-yard passer. Why do you think that is? And what would help Justin Fields? Bro, I have no idea about 4,000 yards passing. I don't know or necessarily care. I think You could probably roll back a number of certain issues about why they haven't had someone. I'm as excited as anyone to see what this offense looks like with Justin Fields year 2. Again, I don't have any sort of special insider information. I think that the things that you can look for pretty quickly are cleaned up footwork, more precision in the passing game, probably worked on a little bit of that release, although to me it was never as big a deal as it got blown out to be as far as just speeding up the release. If anything, just being more consistent with the ball control in all levels of throws, and then just taking advantage of his unique skill set is what I want to see from the offensive architecture, structure, play calling. What that looks like, is some design quarterback runs, some moving the launch point, some driving the ball down the field, some shots, some ability to get him a dual threat on the edge, on the perimeter. Let's take advantage of everything. A comprehensive 2022 NFL offense. That's what I want to see. Boom. Trevor Youngman. I haven't watched much King. I watched a little bit, like live TV of him playing. He's the bounce back from Houston, right? Or from Miami, one or the other. Oh, Gabe, that's a good question right out of the gate. A little pass pro question here for 30 listeners. I formation, pass protection without a pulling guard. I mean, the easiest pass protection just in general, in my opinion, is full slide. So let's just full slide and have the two backs go off one side, or you can, have a little split flow action if you want to get nuts. But the easiest would be just full slide one way and have the two backs take off the hip of the tackle. Easy. You're welcome. All right. With that installed, or not that installed, for hanging out, checking out with this live. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Make sure you do me a favor and check out the courses. Check out the Quarterback School Patreon community. Like, subscribe, all those good things. I certainly appreciate it. If you have ideas for videos, questions, feel free to hit me on Twitter or in any of the video comments. I'll certainly do my best to get those. It's personally my favorite time of year post-draft because you get a lot of flexibility. We can do whatever the hell we want to do. So might take some deep dives in some pass protection, some different schemes, some X's and O's, some potential prospects moving forward. As always, I certainly appreciate your continued support. Make sure to get over here post-draft for the live, and we'll keep it going. All right. Thank you. As always, I will see you next time. Have a good one.